What does it take to become the youngest dean on staff at a major university and the first woman to ever hold the role? It takes vision, grit, and the courage to challenge the status quo. Today on Making Maverick Moves, I'm joined by Kristine Collins, Dean of Continuing Education at the University of California, Irvine. She's a servant leader who knows when to step up to the front, a systems thinker with soul, and she's making bold moves to center education around the students who need it most. We're talking about building teams, bouncing back from setbacks, and why it's so important not to give up before the magic happens. My name is Gina L. Osborn, and I'm an Army veteran. I spent 6 years during the end of the Cold War as a counterintelligence agent. I was appointed as an FBI agent, and during my 22-year career, worked everything from Asian organized crime to terrorism. I became the Assistant Special Agent in charge of cyber and computer forensics. And then I came out of retirement and spent 2 years as the Safety and Security Officer at LA Metro. Now I'm here to help you make your Maverick move. Welcome to the show, Dean Collins.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
This is very exciting for me because we're going to talk sports. We're going to talk leadership. So let's go back to your athletic days. Tell me about what you learned about leadership while you were swimming and when you were playing basketball.
Okay, well, we can even go further back than that. So I grew up in a sports-centered household. My father was a professional football player, and we were just raised to always be ready and always be preparing and always be playing. And, you know, in that journey and all the way through that journey, and I still compete today, I've really been focused on the process and enjoying the process every step of the way. So it's not just about the game. It's not just about the tournament. It's about every single practice and putting your full effort in wherever you can. And so that process has helped me now as a leader and helped me growing up in all the leadership positions that I've had so far. So it's just been so important to me to really be prepared, put the time and effort in, have a positive attitude, have a growth mindset, think about being great every single day, even if you're not feeling your best or even if you're a little bit injured, just putting the full effort in all the time. So that's really shaped kind of who I am.
That's great. Those people who don't understand from a sports perspective the importance of practicing, people like to go out and do it, the whole putting in that effort. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how, from a leadership perspective, that is so important?
Yeah, I mean, practice is everything. I know people make fun of that. I don't know if you know that Allen Iverson clip a long time ago when he's like making fun of practice and practice. He made fun of practice and said it wasn't important. It's actually the most important thing in sports and at work. I think people assume that leaders have it all together and they just know what to say and they're constantly on the ball and constantly prepared. But you know, and I know, we put in a lot of time and effort into every meeting, into every interaction. We really have to be thoughtful and even in, you know, difficult conversations, practice is really important. Writing down your key points, what you want the outcomes to be, how you want to talk to the other person. All of those parts are really important in work. And I think a lot of people just think that comes naturally and you just know what to do and you don't. I mean, if you practice a lot, it becomes easier and that prep time is much shorter, but it's so important in everyday work.
And you always stepped up to be the captain. Why is that?
I've always felt this real urge to lead and empower others, and I'm a pretty positive person. I wake up every day thinking it's going to be a good day. And so in all of my either work positions or sports positions, I've always been, you know, eager to pull everyone else together and pull on their strengths and help them if they're not having a great day and lift them up and feel the energy of what's going on and try and shift and redirect that energy towards something that's more productive. So I think that's why I want to be captain. I don't want to be the star. I don't want to be the center of attention, but I definitely want to feel the feeling of people working together to achieve something great And I feel like my role in that is to bring the whole team together. So I think that's where that comes from. I also really like to tell jokes. I enjoy public speaking. I enjoy that kind of attention. I like helping people to laugh and lighten the load a little bit. So maybe that's why. But yeah, it's happened through my whole life from when I was really a small kid.
And there's something really, really special about being on a team that's hitting on all cylinders. Talk about what that feeling is like.
I mean, it's awesome. I've had probably 3 points in my life and career where I felt like the magic is happening. This is a perfect team. And what that means is that everyone is in alignment. There's a high degree of trust. We feel we can give and take feedback very easily. It flows very naturally. There's not this nervousness or trepidation. It's just like, hey, Gina, when you did it this way, it didn't quite hit. Maybe we could do it this way. And you go, oh, yeah, thanks for that feedback. That's so great. That's what I needed. And, you just have that flow. And I had it once early in my career, and I've had it once in university when I was playing basketball. And I've had it, I had it again a little bit mid-career, and I'm always chasing that high because as a leader, you want that. You want your whole team to be going, this is where we need to go, and this is how we're going to do it. And interestingly, like a lot of people like to do team building activities and offsites and things like that. I really don't like that stuff. I think it's kind of forced fun. And I would much rather really work with a highly, like that magical team. And those bonds that you create doing that work together are the strongest bonds you have in your life. Those people stay with you forever and ever.
From a leadership perspective, a lot of investment goes in. That just doesn't happen one day. As a leader, you have to invest in your people. You have to show your vulnerabilities. You have to show how you are a contributor on that team. And I think that's what a lot of leaders miss, is that they don't really, or they have never achieved that high that you're talking about because they haven't put in the investment.
Yeah, that may be true. Yeah. I mean, I think the times I've experienced it, I've really felt like we all know what our strengths are, and we all know how to contribute. It's very, very clear. And the goals are simple. They're very easy. It's easy to attach to it, and everyone kind of understands where you're going, where we're going, and we kind of ditch the insecurities, and just try and move forward. So I would much rather invest in getting the right people around the table than a team building activity or coaching or training. Even though I work in a coaching and training business, you should definitely take our courses. But I think that having that alignment is just it's gold. It feels so awesome.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to be yourself in those situations. I was on a team in the Army, and we would go out and we were working these high-profile espionage cases. So it was a really, really, really stressful time because you really can't make a whole lot of mistakes. So at the end, we would debrief, and one of the things that the team leader would do is, okay, we're going to go around the room and we're going to talk about the worst thing that everybody did today so we can learn from them. And, you would think that no one would say, well, I didn't do it, but we were nominating each other. But that was an opportunity for us to, number one, laugh at everybody, kind of get rid of all of the things that happened that day. But that really was an investment, because when everybody wanted to go home, go to sleep, whatever, people enjoyed that part of the day because we could have fun, sometimes at each other's expense. But again, it had that team feeling so the next day we would go out and we would do really great things.
Yeah, I can totally see how that would work. I mean, it's just, there is a level of giving your full self at work that needs to happen to make that magic happen. And you need to be aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and you need to be okay with, a little bit of vulnerability, laughing at each other a little bit, and really recognizing we all make mistakes. We all bounce back from it. We're in a supportive environment. These things happen, but how are we going to do it differently next time? And it really does work. So I'm glad you've had that experience too. That's so awesome.
Several times in my career. So when you talked about that, we were on a panel together and you talked about that, it's like, I know exactly what that feels like, because it's kind of like an invincibility feeling and it's not, you're part of something bigger than yourself. And, when you're all doing it together, it just the outcome is that much better.
Yeah, fully agree. It's so great. We're going to get there.
Yeah. So what steps do people need to make in order to achieve that greatness?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the really most important things, and probably the least appealing, is to actually diagnose the challenges and diagnose the problems, because you can't have that if you have team members who are not contributing, who have negative attitudes, who are back channeling and talking, saying inappropriate things, who are detracting from the mission. You can't have that. And so you have to diagnose that. You have to diagnose it in an empathetic way and in a supportive way. But ultimately, some people may not need to be part of that team. And you need to have those hard conversations. And, I am a strong believer in performance management. I really think that it's a leader's responsibility to do that. And if you don't do that, you're causing more of a problem. And a lot of leaders are conflict avoidant. They don't want to have those conversations. And unfortunately, that's why we're paid the medium bucks, as they say. We got to do that. That's the job, is dealing with those issues. So those are the things that can pull us back. And I think it's really our responsibility to diagnose them early and address them head on. Give people a chance, of course. Like they might turn around. You might be surprised. Some people respond really well to feedback, and others it's time to say, okay, time to exit, move on.
And as a leader, it's up to us to get the buy-in for what the mission is. So right now you're sort of in a situation where you want to create change as the Dean of Continuing Education for UC Irvine. So what is that like, going into this team and wanting to make a significant change and getting people's buy-in?
I mean, it has been a wild ride. So I've been here for about 3 years. I came from Toronto. So I was recruited from Canada. I'm Canadian. You can tell by my funny accent, to come in and do this job. And, it has been a really challenging experience, but really great learning experience. And I would say, the very first things we did were things like giving people the opportunity to have space and time to vent and share all the things that aren't working. So really learn what's not working. Put it all out there. Create that safe space. Then figure out where we want to go. I think one of the things in universities that's particularly difficult is that there's often this sense that everything's a democracy. And that really slows progress. And in our business, we need to move quickly. So we can't actually make everything democratic. Someone has to make a decision. And so I've explained to the team very early on, we are going to make decisions. You are going to come up with ideas, and we may not go with those ideas. I'm always happy to explain why we won't, because there's a reason. But for the ideas that we do decide to go forward with, you need to get on board. And if you really find that you can't get on board, then maybe you need to go someplace else. Right. I mean, because we really need to be working in the same direction. We can't be working at odds with each other. So, we need to make change. There's been a lot of disruption in our industry in the last little while. Higher ed is in an interesting state. And in our division in particular, because we're a self-sustaining enterprise, we don't receive any funding. We need to respond really quickly. So we operate as a business within a large bureaucracy. So it's challenging, but yeah, I mean, I think the key is really just having that vision, sticking to it, and trying as hard as possible to be as transparent as possible with your team, bring people along, recognize their strengths, and move in alignment. So we're in it. It's hard work. It's exhausting. I look probably 10 years older than I did 3 years ago, but, we're doing it. And I'm pretty confident in the team we have now.
Yeah. Well, you talk about vision, and not a lot of people know this, but very few people on this planet have vision. Someone who can not only dream of something and see something, but actually see it through to making it a reality. And that's what I love about you, because you are tried and true, tested when it comes to being a visionary. So what advice do you have for people out there who are trying to learn this skill, or because it's not easy? It's one thing to think it up, but to keep your eye on the ball through all the chaos, crisis, and change that's going to come in the future to get you to that point. So what do you have to say?
I mean, I think you need to really write it down, and you need to remind yourself all the time what it is. And there's always going to be moments. I mean, I was on a hike the other day and I was thinking, but what if this vision won't be a reality? Like, what if it doesn't happen? And then I had to remind myself, like, every time you've done this, it has happened and it's been better than you thought. Like, I have to constantly remind myself, like, you know how to do this and you can do it. And you're putting all of the pieces in place for it to happen. And so I think the key is like holding steady on that vision, being able to articulate it to the people that you work with, and don't waver on it. I mean, I think our vision is very simple in continuing education. We want to provide the best possible quality programs for learners in Orange County and beyond. It's very, very simple. How you do that is challenging. It's complex. There's lots of systems involved. There's lots of people involved. There's opinions involved. But really, that is simple to me. So it's simple to hold on to, and I can help to move everybody in that direction. But there's so much doubt. I mean, as leaders of an organization, as you know, you were constantly going, can I do this? Am I the right person? Do I have the right skills? Do I have the right team? Am I doing the right things? What does my boss think? You know, I am a boss of lots of people, but I also have a leader that I report to, and I need to make sure that they're okay with my vision and the alignment as well. So, yeah.
And getting the people to get on the right seat, on the right bus, because a lot of times people are on the wrong seat, maybe in the wrong bus. So what do you do to make sure that as you're working toward that vision, that everyone has buy-in and they're moving in the same direction as you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people leaders in an organization are really, really important. So anyone that has a responsibility for supervising another person, those people have a lot of power that I don't think they always realize. And they need to be using that power for good. Meaning employees deserve transparent feedback. They deserve someone who's going to give them clear direction. They need to understand how, okay, this is the big vision, but how does my job connect to that? What can I do? And so people leaders and supervisors are particularly important in being able to understand, ask the right questions, and be able to articulate that to the people that work for them to make sure that they have an opportunity to get on the right seat on the bus. Because they might not, and they might still not, in which case that supervisor needs to address it and deal with it. But I think far too often we're just so passive in our environments. We just go to work and put in the time and do the things you need to do in a day. And that's just never been exciting for me. Yeah. I don't find that to be fun work. So I don't understand how it can be for most people. I mean, you want to go to work, you want to have an impact, you want to make good connections, you want to make progress. In general, I know there are people who don't, but I want the people who do. That's, I think, really, really important.
Right. And still keeping it innovative for people. You know, when we talk about making sure that people are on the right seat, on the right bus, that is something that I look for when I first come into an organization or if I first come onto a team, because first of all, if you're not on the right seat and the right bus, you're not really that happy. You're not going to be really that productive. And it just kind of makes everybody else miserable when you've got somebody who's just not where they're super, super happy to be. So finding that right seat for people, sometimes it takes a few tries, but you're right. If they're not even supposed to be on this bus, if they're not supposed to be on the road at all, then it might be time for them to leave.
And I have to admit, like, it's a bit of a barrier for me because I'm the dean of the division. People don't want to talk to me, you know, if there's an issue, but I want to talk to them. You know, I have this urge to just say, what's going on? Like, tell me what's going on with you. What are your goals? Where do you want to be? What's going on in your job? But I can't really do that because of the hierarchy that we have. So it's a bit uncomfortable, but I just really want to rely on the people who have that power within an organization for them to recognize what they have and how they can influence.
Right. So I would have great big giant gumballs on my desk. And so whenever I would see a wayward FBI agent in my program walking past my office, I'd always pull them in. And you'd be surprised at how when you're chewing a great big gumball and somebody else is chewing a great big gumball, how much conversation goes on because you just feel, you know, we're just having a good time here chewing gum, right?
That is a great idea.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I used to do. I mean, I know a lot of them would just do, can I go back to work now? But it's like there were a few, and I got to learn a lot. And again, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to undermine anybody. I just wanted to get their perspective because if I needed to make a decision, I needed to know what's going on the ground floor in order to make a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great technique. I had a former dean that would do that every Friday. She walked around with chocolate. And so everybody knew she was going to give you chocolate on Friday, and she was getting a pulse of what was going on in the organization, and it was really, really effective. I'm trying to figure that out in a remote environment. Most of my team are remote. Like, how do we connect? It's, it's everything's in writing. It just seems a little bit more stilted. So I'm not sure that anyone's really cracked the code on how to do this in a remote environment, but your gumball trick is great. Virtual gumballs.
Thank you. So we talk about staying in the course. So let's talk about your career. You had a setback that you were beautifully vulnerable enough to talk, to me about, where you were in for a position in Toronto and you wound up not getting it, which we were very fortunate here in Irvine to get you. So it was a really good thing. But tell me a little bit about, from that leadership perspective, from that, sports background, how you dealt with that and how you were able to get through that setback.
I mean, it was really tough. So I was being essentially, I wouldn't say groomed, but prepped for this position. And it was, I was already being given some of the tasks and I was doing them and I was so excited and I was so excited about the opportunity. And, senior people in the university were saying, don't go anywhere. So you got to stay. We got to stay. We know that you're like itching for the next step. You have to stay. So I was really excited about the opportunity. And then when I found out I didn't get it, by the way, it was by email on a Sunday, so it kind of stung a bit.
Ouch.
Father's Day ruined it for my spouse, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
So I was like really, really sad. Really, really sad. And I just I felt so defeated. And initially when these things happen, you think, I'm never going to get this job. I'm never going to rise to the next level. I'm not ready. They don't think I'm good enough. I'm not smart enough, all these different things. So I went through all those motions. I told my family, I said, look, I need 2 days. I need 2 days and I'm going to cry it out and I'm going to eat some junk food and I'm going to exercise. I'm going to deal with this with good coping mechanisms. I'm going to go out and do what I need to do. I'm going to go some walks and I need some hugs from you guys. That's all I'm going to need. And then I'm going to get back on the horse and we're going to figure this out. So I did. And it was really tough. And my family was so awesome and so sweet. And they knew how disappointed I was. And we had also, my spouse and I had decided we were going to make this big purchase if I got this job, right? So I was like, we were going to buy a swim spa. Have you seen a swim spa?
Mm-mm.
It's like a swim treadmill. You put it in your backyard, they'd crane it over. It's awesome. It's like, and in Canada, it's so great because you can swim year round. So I was like, all I want is this swim spa. So I wanted the job so badly because we're going to do this. And my spouse, after 2 days of my crying and everything else, he said, you know what, we're buying the swim spa anyway. It's fine.
Gosh.
So we did.
He's a keeper. He's a keeper.
He's great.
Yeah.
It was our money, but good decision.
Yeah,
so anyway, we did that. And I kind of decided I was going to give it my all with the new person. I thought, you know what, they chose this person for a reason. I'm going to go for it. So I tried. It wasn't the right fit. And I ended up leaving and going to work at a startup for 6 months. Great experience. Got to work with some very, very young leaders. My boss was 27 and it was like, I was the old lady in the company. I was always used to being the youngest. And so that was interesting. And in that period, I was recruited for this job.
Wow.
So it was just this and part of the reason I was recruited for this job was they loved that I had gone to the private sector and that I took a chance and went and worked at a startup. It was a VR startup. It was super interesting. And I had this great experience. I learned a ton working there, and they loved that I had industry experience and university experience and government experience. So it worked out super well. And then I moved my whole family to Irvine.
Wow. So we talk about not giving up, because you're going to miss out on the magic, right? If you wind up giving up too early. And you and I sort of enjoy the Naked and Afraid franchise. And we talked a little bit about how on the last one standing, if you're not familiar with Naked and Afraid, you're naked, you're out surviving for 21 days. But on last one standing, it takes all of the really, really iconic Naked and Afraid people and puts them out in horrible conditions for like 40 days. Well, in this last season, there were 4 women left. 3 out of the 4 women gave up before the magic happened because they were saying that it wasn't fair or that the men had the advantage because they weren't going to win this if the physical challenges continued to be the way they were. But there was one lady by the name of Cheney Plant who decided, I'm not tapping out. I'm going to stay. And she wound up, she almost won. So close.
It was close.
It was close. And so, I just admire that so much that, you can't give up before the magic happens, right?
No, you can't, because it's just around the corner and it's a question of effort. And I think in Cheney's case, it was the same thing. It was like, no, I have strengths. They may be different strengths, and it might not be physical strength, but it might be mental strength, and who knows what's around the corner.
Yeah.
We got to bet on ourselves. Like we can't self-limit. And I see it happen actually quite a lot when you want to promote someone to a more senior position and they say things like, yes, but I have so much flexibility in my job right now, or, I'm really comfortable with what I'm doing. And it's like, okay, but you don't know what's around the corner and you don't even know what you're capable of. We are resilient, adaptable beings. We can do really cool stuff. And it's really fun to think about, how much your mind and your brain has evolved over your whole career. Like what you probably, early in my career to create a PowerPoint presentation and prepare for a senior presentation, it would have been like 3 weeks of panic. And, now it's like, put me an hour and a half in my calendar. I'll get it sorted, So it's like we are so adaptable, and I think that we lose sight of that and just get too comfortable. And it's disappointing when people give up, because we have a long life. We spend a lot of it working. So, let's make that work as engaging and interesting as possible.
Yeah. And I think there's that belief as well. And the investment in yourself is to say, okay, if I give up now, what am I taking away from my own value? But then on the other hand, you may ask yourself, okay, well, how much longer do I have to go with all of this before it's time to pivot? So what would you say to people who are asking that question?
Oh, boy. About time to pivot? Or how? I have always really thought a lot about, how I show up. And if I'm feeling like I'm not bringing my best self to work once in a while, fine. Not on every day. But if I feel like there's a routine of like, oh, I'm not feeling this, or, there's an annoyance, or there's something out of my control. So there's things that I can control, and I can control, what's happening in my team, in my division. I can control those things, but I can't control, the senior leadership of the university or, the external political environment. I can't control those things. So, if those things become insurmountable, then you need to change the environment. So I have, throughout my career, kind of had these periods of time where it's like, this isn't really doing it for me anymore. And I'm not my best self. So maybe it's time to start looking or think about a complete shift. And so I've done that a couple times, and every time it's just been a great learning experience. You learn more, you build your network. It's just really fun to learn at work. And I think we're very privileged to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I always ask my gut, because in my lifetime, I've always relied on my intuition and my gut. And so whenever I feel like, okay, I can't do this anymore, or maybe this isn't for me, or telling whatever stories I tell in my head, I always go to the gut. Okay, am I going to fail at this? Is this not going to work out? And then that's a place where I have to be completely honest with myself, or else it's never going to work. And what's the point of doing it in the first place? So I think we just have to, is this it? Is this the end? We just have to really believe in ourselves enough to, and if it's not the end, let's just do it. Let's do it until the magic does happen.
Yeah, and I think we need to trust that, there will be times when it's not it.
Yeah.
And, that's okay. That's not a failure. That's just that's a step in the learning process. And, taking care of yourself and taking care of your mental health is really important. And, you don't need to be in an environment that's beating you down and it's not working for you anymore. It's good to move on and kind of set those boundaries for yourself. So, there have been moments, and I've given this advice to some friends, like, if you're really feeling like you can't give it your all, maybe don't for a little bit. And that's okay. It's okay to dial it back and not be like fully consumed. Work is not your full identity. You're a human being outside of work. So, create those boundaries, but don't let it stop there. Don't get into a rut and that's you from now on. It's not. You need to, get back in there and find something else.
Yeah.
So
that is great advice. Well, you talked about your husband who bought the swim spa.
Yes.
Well, when when people came after you to go to doing something better, right? He came with you, and he is staying home with the kids, and he is supporting you 100%. So for all of the very, very envious women out there who do not have that luxury, tell us what's that? How has that changed you?
I mean, first, I'll just say it's a huge privilege. I recognize that this is not something that everybody can do. And I just feel so grateful that we're able to make it work. But yeah, my spouse is just, so he and I met playing sports. We play basketball together. We currently play beach volleyball together, but we won't be partners anymore. We've had a good discussion about that. But we are so complimentary because he, early when we met, he was like, "You're spending too much time, working. All you want to do is work. You talk about work all the time. You want to get extra jobs. You want to do all this stuff." He's like, "I want to spend time with you." So we've got to figure it out. Like, we got to figure a balance. And so we worked on that balance very early in our lives together, which is over 20 years now. And now I'm just so fortunate that he came here and he didn't have a green card, so he wasn't able to work. So he was forced out of work for a couple of years, which he loved. I mean, we're in Southern California, so he's been playing volleyball, riding his bike, doing all kinds of stuff, and looking after. We have one daughter, so he's been looking after her. And I think we've decided that this is the way it's going to be. So he prepares all the meals. He does all of the life admin. Make sure that everything is stable and steady at home, so that I can really focus on work. I have a lot of evening events, weekends, some travel. So it's just been amazing. And I do overhear him sometimes at a party saying, "She loves to work, so it works out." And I'm like, whoa, like, settle down a little bit. I do love my job and I do love working, but I do like downtime too. But he definitely has made it so easy for me. And I think he's a very evolved man because he's just very comfortable in himself. And he really likes what he's doing right now. And I just feel really privileged to be with him. He's awesome. And he's my best friend, so it works out.
Well, you're so lucky to have that relationship, that you have such great compatibility, because I think that's where it goes off the rails, is when somebody gets jealous or somebody, doesn't feel like they're valued or what have you, but it just sounds like it really, really works, and it works for everybody. It works for the entire family.
It does work. And I will say, I do fib once in a while when the food is like not on. I'll always say it's great, because I don't ever want him to feel that way, right? I don't want to push him into any level of insecurity. So it's like, no, the food is awesome. I'm happy to eat it. I'm just like really happy with the way the situation. So yeah. And we did buy that swim spa, by the way, and then we left.
Oh.
And you can't bring a swim spa to Southern California.
Well,
so
you probably don't need one here.
No. Maybe not our best investment, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to go into a lightning round.
All right.
Because I hear that you are a master at Canadian trivia.
I'm not sure where you heard that, but sure. Let's give it a go.
I think you may have told me that, actually. Well, I don't have any Canadian trivia, but I love the fact that you have an outside life, because you're continuing with the sports and the family and everything, and that's so healthy, especially women talk about this work-life balance. How does that work for you?
Yeah, so I don't know that there's much. It's not necessarily balance, but more like alignment, right? So I think there's this sense that it would be great to be able to shut off work. But when you're in a job like mine, it doesn't go away. And it's not that the emails and everything don't slow down, because that does. But your mind is always thinking about work. I mean, and I just think about it a lot. So I don't have that I don't get to shut it off. But I'm trying not to let it consume me. And I'm trying to have a separate identity from that. I play beach volleyball multiple times a week. I swim almost every morning. I swam this morning. So I have, these different outlets and spaces that are just for me and for my own mind. But I mean, balance is what you make it. Like, I think, these are things that I value. And I have friends who are like, "You're nuts. You're working out all the time. Like, why you work out so much?" But it's like, that is enjoyable for me. So that's not, I don't feel pressure to do that. I enjoy it. So I think having things that you enjoy are so important. I'm in a book club of really interesting women, and we read funny books. And so that's really good. So, I'm a pretty social person. So I like my friends, and I made a lot of friends here in Southern California. Some super nice people. I'm super grateful. So I think that's also been really cool to realize and show our daughter that you can pick yourself up and go someplace else, and you can build community so fast. So it's been 3 years, and we just are super well connected with people, and it's just been so great. So, yeah.
Okay, and why is self-awareness so important to a leader?
Oh, boy. I mean, I think as a leader, you need to take stock every day of who you are and what kind of mood you're in and what you're able to manage, because your moves matter. What you say and do influence the people around you. People are watching you. They're paying attention. So you just need to be really aware. There have been days where I've asked my executive assistant to, cancel a couple meetings because it was like, you know what, I'm not my best self today, and I don't think I can do this, and I may need some more time to focus on what needs to happen. I think that awareness is really important because I don't want to put relationships at risk or put their work at risk. So, yeah, I think just being able to take stock and recognize kind of where you are without being too self-deprecating, because you can go down this path of all the things you did wrong or all the things you said wrong, but that's not particularly productive. So trying to shift that a little bit.
What about blind spots? Are you aware of your blind spots?
Oh, yeah.
What are they? Do you want to share?
Oh,
I might share a
boy.
couple of mine if you share some of yours.
Sure. I mean, I think precision is a blind spot for me. I'm a very, general person, so I like to see things in generalities and patterns. I'm not great on precision, so that I need to really focus on that. And my boss is a statistician, so I need to when I meet with him, I need to really focus. Are these numbers correct? Does this make sense? Because he's gonna find the errors. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah. No. You know what? That is funny because I am the exact same way. I'm a bigger picture thinker, but yeah, when it comes to the details, I don't like to practice. I hate to.
Don't.
No. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I do. That is because I think I'm a very impatient person. And so
you mentioned that, yeah.
doing the same thing over and over again, it just, but I would like to learn. Maybe you can teach me how to enjoy practicing things.
Maybe.
Anything else? Any other blind spots? Come on. We're just two girls talking here.
I mean, I do think sometimes I'm enchanted by people's personalities, and I don't, I'm not quick to address the challenges with those people. There are people in my network that I just really like. I like having around, but then I feel like they sometimes maybe I wouldn't be so inclined to give them the feedback they deserve or they need.
Yeah.
I get kind of swept up in magnetic personalities.
Okay, that's a good one. I get tunnel vision where if I am seeing the vision, I will, and bad things happen when you're not when you're not looking outside of the tunnel. I have a few stories on that, but we won't go into those today. Okay, so what is one leadership lesson that you lean on every day?
Oh gosh, one lesson. I mean, I think I've said it so many times just in this short time, is just to be it's so corny, but I just really want to be my best self every day. Mm-hmm. I wake up, I go swim, I think about the day, I plan the day, and I just try and, I listen to some pump up music, and then I get to work and want to be my best self. And I think that if you show up, that people will follow you. Mm-hmm. And if you model that I hope that people will follow you. Yeah.
I'm going to try the pump up music because that's a sports thing for sure, to get you all pumped up and ready to go. Okay, and your favorite failure that taught you the most?
Oh, boy. I think we talked about it. I mean, I think not getting that job was a really important time in my life. Mm-hmm. And I think I directed my anger and bitterness to the wrong places. Mm-hmm. And I think, it just really taught me that that's not the end.
Yeah.
You're the self-defeating language and everything that I was going over in my head. It was just so dark. It felt like there was nothing. It felt like there was nothing ahead of me. Mm-hmm. It just felt like this was it and this was the end and I would never progress, which is just totally wild when I think about it now. I really can't believe I felt that way, but I remember describing it to my friends and saying, like, it just feels dark. Like, it's just darkness. I don't know how to get beyond this. And I probably should have gone to therapy. I didn't. I know I should. Everyone tells me you should go to therapy. They just don't want to hear me anymore. But, but I do think, like, I got to the other side of that, and I learned a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. And I think I also set a good example for my daughter that, you know, you will have setbacks, but you will have days where you just want to lay in bed and cry, and that's okay. But you gotta get up and get moving. Yeah. So, and I have an Oma, my Oma, well, she's passed away, but she was just this awesome woman who immigrated to Canada from Holland right after the war, and she just had this no nonsense, like no BS attitude. And gosh, I channel her and think about her all the time. Whenever I'm in those moments of despair, I'm like, oh, she would just be like, Chris, get it together. Like she would tell me that. So I kind of have that voice in my head now whenever I'm faced with those kind of self-defeating thoughts.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have to remember that may be an end to the chapter, but it's not the end of a book. And when you're beginning a new chapter, that's where the fun is and the excitement is. So yeah, that helps me get through, you know, the very tough times.
Yes.
Okay, last question. One piece of advice that you would give the next generation woman leader.
Oh boy. We didn't even really talk about the woman stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other layer.
We have time.
I mean, that's a whole other layer. I mean, I think we are certainly we lead a little bit differently, and we are a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to. And I think we just need to embrace it and try. Like I know you shared on a panel that you had an experience where you were trying to be one way, but you know it really wasn't who you are. And I think that being who we are is just so important.
Yeah.
And leadership is evolved so much. It's not just one thing. It's not just one way anymore. There's a lot of shifting your leadership style for the context that you're in. And having multiple ways of connecting with people is just really, really important. So I guess, you know, a woman in leadership is tough. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. We're under a lot of scrutiny, and a little bit more than most. And I think we have to be okay with that and recognize that that's not what defines you, is not what everybody thinks of you. I mean, I'm a person who desperately wants to be liked. I wish I wasn't that way. I do. I want people to like me.
Yeah.
And I think as a leader and as a woman, I've had to reconcile with that and say, you know, not everybody is going to like me. I have to make tough decisions, and those decisions might affect people. They might affect people's lives. And the fact that they don't like me doesn't make me less of a leader. And my leadership is different than being a likable person. So maybe that would be my advice to a woman leader. Do it. I mean, still do it.
Yeah.
Still take the challenge of being a leader. We need more great leaders. But we're definitely scrutinized in different ways. Like I really feel for example, for politicians, and you know, they're just under the microscope in ways that men aren't.
Yeah.
And it's really tough.
Yeah, for sure. But what I love is when I'm watching women leaders, and you know, there's different styles of leadership. You know, we have the big categories, but what I love is when someone just comes in and does it their way.
Yes.
And embraces everything about them and that, but it takes you a while to get there for sure, because it's not easy, because I think we doubt ourselves more than other people doubt us, and I think that's what kind of slows us down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's interesting to see when you're your authentic self, how people respond to that. I mean, I think in my case, you know, I'm a pretty like casual leader. Like I'm casual. I'm casual at work. I wear a suit with running shoes. You know, like I like to be comfortable. I like to be casual. I'm pretty friendly. I like to make jokes, things like that. And I think people do struggle with that juxtaposition between that casualness and then when, you know, decisions have to be made. It's like, whoa, how could she's a hypocrite. And it's like, no. Listen, I'm a nice person and I'm a kind person, but I'm a boss.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get it done.
For sure. And you and I love this about us, is that we are very tall women, And that can be really intimidating to people, especially when you're in a leadership role. Do you ever feel that or feel like you have to overcompensate for that at all?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I make jokes about it all the time. It's just part of who I am. And I don't want to be an imposing figure, but you know what? It does come in handy once in a while.
All the time.
Yeah. so yeah, I do sometimes use that to my advantage, but I also don't want to be intimidating. But it's funny, I coach a swim team also in my spare time. And everyone always thinks I'm in charge of everything. Like people come up to me and ask me random questions. The other day, someone was like, "Hey, there's something in the pool. Can you take it out?" And I was like, "What? I'm not in charge here. Like, what's going on?" But then I took it out because I was like, "Oh, I got to deal with the situation. I'll deal with it." But I think there's like something about our height and presence that gives an air of control and an air of it helps in our leadership, I think, in many ways.
For sure.
So although it can be intimidating, it can also be a great strength.
Yeah. And you wear 3 or 4 inch heels.
Yes.
And when I met you the first time, I was wearing my 3 or 4 inch heels too. And it takes a lot because you see a lot of women who are our height who are kind of hunched over. And that breaks my heart, especially when they're younger women, because it means that they're not comfortable being this fabulousness, right? So yeah, I think it's, I think maybe it was a story that I would tell in my head that I'm imposing and I'm, overbearing or too aggressive because of my height, plus my type A personality, plus I'm kind of loud sometimes. But again, I think I finally settled into the fact, this works for me. This is who I am. And yeah, but it just takes a minute to get to that point, I think.
Totally. And I have a 15-year-old and she's my height. So she's one that's kind of like currently a little hunched, but she is a stunning creature. And when she's playing volleyball, she becomes her full self.
Yes.
And so I think that's one of the beauties of sports too, is it gives you that sense of, first of all, I've hung around tall people all my life. It was only when I started working when I was like, oh, I'm taller than all of you. What is happening? So that was a real surprise for me that the rest of the world was small because I played basketball. We were all big. So I think embracing that and is really, really important. And it is part of our identity. It's who we are. And the heels are not comfortable, but they come in handy for sure.
Yeah. Is your husband taller than you?
He is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So your daughter's going to be really tall.
Yeah. He's 6'4". She is close to my height. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you are a light, and I love what you're doing at UC Irvine, and continue to make those changes, because that is how the university is going to get better. That's how we, as your clients, are going to get better. And I really respect your leadership style and everything you're doing over there. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Gina. Likewise, you are an icon. This has been awesome. I loved spending this time with you, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Making Maverick Moves with Gina L. Osborn is produced and edited by Zill Media. Connect with us on social media at GinaLOsborn.com/Making Maverick Moves. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Making Maverick Moves wherever you get your podcasts.